So, what is a personal narrative? A personal narrative is when you tell a story about yourself. Um, can be have some elements of fiction. Doesn't have to though. So your assignment for this week for writing is going to be to write a personal narrative about the things that happened to you throughout the past 3 weeks. So let's review the parts of a narrative. So here I have my plot map. If you look over here, we have this is where we start, and then we go up, and then we go down, okay? So we start with our exposition. That's what you're going to start with today. The exposition is the part of a story where you're kind of building background, talking about settings, characters, all of those things. So maybe you stayed at home throughout the last 3 weeks. I hope so. So your setting would be your house, and your characters would be your family members. Maybe somebody that was on the news that you had been watching. Maybe the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine. Those would be your characters in your exposition. Now, expositions need to at least be a paragraph. It doesn't have to be longer, but could be longer, especially if you're writing at a 6th grade level. You should be adding lots of details, making it very interesting, adding dialogue, all of those things, even in your exposition. So after the exposition, we have our rising action here. So the rising action is the upward climb of the book. This is where small events and small conflicts are taking place. Some of them are being resolved, some of them are not, but you're basically building to the most important, biggest part of your essay. In your rising action, you need to have at least a paragraph, if not more. Your goal for the end of this essay is to have 5 paragraphs. So between your rising action, climax, and falling action, you should have at least 3. So keep that in mind. So what comes next? All the way at the top, the most important, biggest event, most exciting part of a story is the climax. This is going to be a big event. Maybe this is when you found out that we were going back to school, or maybe something different happened. But that is going to be the biggest part of your book. You're going to include it in one of your body paragraphs. Next is your falling action. Falling action is coming downward. That's kind of like the rising action in terms where there's small conflicts happening, things are being resolved. There's still some excitement, but nothing as exciting as the climax. Basically, you're trying to resolve your story so that you can end it. And then at the end, we can equate this with our conclusion paragraph. If we were writing something like an informative essay, we have our resolution. So this resolution is where all the problems have been solved, you're figuring everything out. There's no more new things that are happening because you're just solving the problems and kind of everything is being settled from the rest of the story. So what did you do throughout the last 3 weeks? I did a lot of sitting at home, a lot of cleaning. I did a lot of working at Walmart. Those would be all things that I would include in my personal narrative about my last 3 weeks. What are you going to include? Start writing.